Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is Monday, May 17th. We are more than halfway through the month, and I'm joined today by Ryan Gorman, my co-host with the hair, and Monty and CJ, our crypto analysts from MarketRebellion.com. Today is going to be a pretty singular focused episode. We're going to hit the big boards, check out what Bitcoin's doing. If you have not been watching, I will let you know, CJ and Monty have been hitting this stuff on the head every single time. The last 4 weeks, they've been really good at bringing everybody through what the upside looks like, the downside looks like, and what the possibilities are. You know, I mean, the one good credit to them is they show you the directional approach that could be taken both up and down. So we're definitely not going to sit here and be like, everything's on sale, buy the dip. We're not those type of people. We're just going to tell you like it is. But today's focus is going to be on Elon Musk. I know a lot, if not every crypto investor out there has been feeling the pain as of late. It's been a harsh past week, let's call it. And really, we want to kind of analyze what's going on here and discuss some very interesting topics on the cause and effect that he has had and what similar people in his position can possibly do with the market. So that's going to be the topic of discussion. And from there, I will send it to Ryan and CJ for the legal and the plugs.
Thank you, Alex. Looking forward to today's episode. But before we get to that, this is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain and Market Rebellion is strictly for educational purposes. It is not investment advice, and it should absolutely not be construed as such. Whatever you do, don't listen to us because we don't know what we're talking about anyway. Trade the Chain is brought to you by TradeTheChain.com, a global community of traders in 23 time zones. People, that's every single time zone that there's a human being in. They're all using AI-driven sentiment indicators and actionable alerts to help them beat the market. And if you too want to trade like a crypto insider, head on over to TradeTheChain.com.
And moving over to MarketRebellion.com/crypto. This is Monty and myself and our community at Market Rebellion. And with us, you get weekly trade ideas with entries, exits, and stop losses, access to our macro portfolio allocations, a pro charting platform, a trading education curriculum, and an elite community of traders all throughout the world, and much more. If you're serious about trading crypto, this is the service that gives you everything you need all in one place. And you start your first month trial for just $1 at marketrebellion.com/crypto. We appreciate that, guys. We have a mobile app as well for iOS users. But with that being said, Alex, Ryan, Monty, any thoughts, gents, before we go into the big boards?
We have a lot today. I think those thoughts are going to pour out after you hit the big boards, though.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I think it's to your credit, CJ and Monty, that as Alex was pointing out at the top of the episode, you know, everyone else, they see Bitcoin going up, they see altcoins going up, and they just say, moon, 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 number go up. And you guys say, guys, wait, hold on. We're seeing some things here where the number might not continue to go up. And if it doesn't, here's where it can go down. Nail on the head. I mean, you nailed the $42,000 support level before the recovery. The retracement, you plotted it out perfectly. It's like we're in a time machine. You came back and told us what happened. It's incredible.
Oh, he's blushing now, Ryan. He's blushing.
No, it's incredible how accurate they are with this.
How about the pi cycle top, right? Perfect call. And everyone was dismissing it, even myself, right? Yeah. Then when it actually happens, you have to validate it and say, damn, this thing was spot on.
CJ, I will say I remember that episode because we'd been examining the pi cycle for I think 2 or 3 episodes, and then finally one episode you were like, you know something, this thing wasn't built for now. This is too young, and you started going in on it. But you're absolutely right. It's literally tracing what the market's doing. So it's interesting. But hey, listen, all I got to say before you go to the big boards is I am glad I was not up at midnight Eastern Standard Time yesterday because I don't know, my stomach would have churned looking at that 42 and change price on the ticker. So
Yeah, I almost dropped my phone when I looked at my portfolio this morning. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend just not opening your app for like a month or two.
Matter of fact, if you watch the show regularly, don't open any of your crypto apps until we give you the go ahead.
And at the
But I thought
beginning,
this wasn't.
we say
Yeah.
don't listen to any advice, but that's some advice you can actually listen to. Just stop opening your apps. Just stop checking for a bit. It'll be great for your mental health.
Just toss your phone behind the couch or something for a day.
And if you're Elon Musk, please delete your Twitter, please.
Yes, stop using social media immediately.
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. Like, I appreciate the praise you guys are heaping on us here. And yeah, I mean, the pi cycle top was accurate in hindsight, but do you think we retest any of these levels if Elon just puts his phone down?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not as quickly, but yeah, I mean, the market has to retrace a bit. It's normal and healthy and orderly.
Well, see, I knew this discussion was going to pour out. Let CJ do the Bitcoin. We got plenty to talk about Elon, but let's see where we're at right now in the charts.
You know, Elon certainly created a catalyst in the sense that he created or initiated the starting waterfall. I mean, if you look at the tweets and the time in which price fell, it's pretty evident. However, when you already have severe weakness in a trend, it's like adding bad news on top of an already weak market, and it just amplifies the effect. So let's check out some of these levels and where we're at. First of all, with Bitcoin, I think it's really important to look at some of these prior levels and understand why we bounced from 41 the way in which we did. And this is why technical analysis is very important when you try to locate those critical levels. If we go back and look at the very tippy top candle wick of our first ascent to 41K, that is essentially exactly what we've wicked down to and are holding support temporarily at. So obviously we're trending down on the oscillators and we're very oversold. However, if these critical levels do not hold, we could go down into the 30s, which I don't think is unrealistic if we cannot find some strong buying momentum. I think we needed to get a lot of those short-term speculators out of the market. And there is some data from Glassnode I'll get into, which shows about how unprofitable short-term traders have been over the past couple of days. But what I also want to show is the inverted perspective to clear the bullish bias from under us. And so this is where Bitcoin is at. If we were to look from the bullish perspective and flip the chart, we have increasing volume, which is very ahead of the overall moving average on that volume. We have support and a new higher high created, and we're not stopping. If you were gonna think, okay, is Bitcoin bottoming here at the end of a bear market, you would look for that higher low right here as a very sharp indication that we're probably going to continue going down. What we have to worry about now from the bullish perspective is the fact that this level is ultimately likely to act as potential resistance or support, however you want to say it. I mean, we're looking at it from an inverse perspective, but when you back test that level is now going to be strong, and it might take a couple before we actually do break down from that. But looking at this with full honesty, this trend still looks relatively strong. And I wouldn't be surprised if we continue down into, say, the 35K level, because something strictly has changed in the trend, as I kind of talked about with that moving average initially turning over in last week's show. So not the most optimistic outlook as of now. I truly do think that we'll probably end up having something like this, where we squeeze a lot of people out and end up just having a absolutely mind-shattering rally towards the fall or even winter stages of 2021. But as you can see, we're in the middle of this bearish consolidation. And as far as buying the dip or trading this, I just can't buy the dip just because we keep going down for the, like, I don't buy weakness for the sake of buying weakness. I'm kind of sitting tight, waiting for the trend to make a bullish higher low before we can actually establish, all right, this was the bottom. I think there's a lot of people who are now confident. But as for sentiment and what you gentlemen want to discuss today, it's going to be interesting to see, has the overall like purpose or fundamentals changed, in the sense that we had Square come out, say, all right, we're not buying any more Bitcoin, Tesla, obviously, in that whole debacle, but I'll leave that to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what you just displayed with the inverted chart is something that is going to be wildly making the short smile, because honestly, looking at it in that regard, it's a short seller's game right now. I mean, I'm surprised Monty's still here and he's not putting in orders, but you're absolutely right, and it's going to scare the crap out of people if and when that Bitcoin goes into the 30K range. Okay, so let's get to the topic. Has Elon single-handedly made an end to the Bitcoin and crypto bull run market? When looking at this and seeing, particularly, yesterday evening, it was very clear that he was quite active on Twitter. He was engaging a lot of people that he normally wouldn't engage, and the comments weren't always filled with rationale. And to your point about Square not buying Bitcoin, he clearly responded to someone yesterday evening saying, that he would plan to dump Tesla's Bitcoin next month. I saw that and I was aghast. It was hugely irresponsible, in my opinion. So the first question I have for everybody here is the reputational risk exposure that these certain influencers have in the market space, whether it be Elon Musk, whether it be Michael Saylor, whether it be Jack Dorsey, anybody who has the ability to enter big positions in Bitcoin and crypto, and then does things like this. Do they face a cancel culture backlash? And do you think that this market manipulation, which essentially it is going to ruin their own reputations? And we'll start with Ryan first. I know he's full of opinions on this.
Thanks, Alex. It's hard to cancel people who don't care about being canceled, right? Elon doesn't care if people backlash against him. He's got all that money. He's sending rocket ships to Mars. Like, he's Elon Musk. It doesn't matter. But there could be a scenario where if he keeps impacting the value of Tesla through statements on social media that aren't, sanctioned or cleared through whatever compliance controls that a normal publicly traded company would have, it's possible that he could be removed from being overseeing a publicly traded company, but that wouldn't necessarily lessen his influence on the markets. I can't imagine Twitter banning him just because some of the things he said. I don't know. I don't think it has any real impact on Elon at all. None.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on over to Monty, and I'm going to start this off with a trail over from what Ryan just said. First thing to you is, the influence over the markets. Do you think that people are actually going to continue to listen to him, or the markets are going to continue to listen to him, Monty?
I think that's the biggest takeaway here is Elon's reputation as having a legitimate opinion on crypto going to withstand what he's said in the last 24 hours? And, I don't think it will. I think, although we've seen price move a lot, he's clearly very influential on the markets. I think that a lot of the opinions he's expressing now are kind of, showing that he may not be the be all end all opinion for crypto that a lot of retail traders have seen him as in the past few months. So, he's just he's a great entrepreneur. Tesla's a great company, but when it comes to crypto, his opinion is just the same as anyone else's. He is the richest man in the world, so obviously he's more influential than anyone else. But I think the fact that, people still give his opinion more credence than they give other people's opinion just speaks to the fact that we're very early in the market cycle. And until, one single person can't influence the market to this extent, I think we're still very early in Bitcoin's, development. So for me, I think it won't damage Elon's career or anything like that. But I do hope that people, retail traders in particular, realize that, he doesn't know everything about crypto. He's a brilliant guy, don't get me wrong. But just because he says Bitcoin's bad doesn't mean it is. It's just his opinion like anything else. And we shouldn't let it influence the market so substantially.
Okay. CJ, to your earlier point and merging it about buying into weakness, merging it into what we've just been discussing with Elon's reputational risk. One, do you think this is going to hurt influencers like Elon, or if another one comes out and speaks about crypto in a certain way? And two, is this a legitimate opportunity for people to be buying the dip like every other armchair quarterback influencer on social media always says when the market's down, because they can't say, look at it, moon?
Yeah, as for Elon, I do think people will continue to listen to him just because he's one of the richest men in the world, richest people in the world. And the size of the market, I don't think matters either. Donald Trump still influenced the US stock market, the biggest market in the world, through tweets as well. And I think Elon could definitely do something like that with the crypto market. Now, it comes to the classic market technician or market analyst discussion of, is it news or is it charts that ultimately move the market? And so I think in a bullish market posture, when you have people buying and making money on a daily basis, negative news and negative sentiment by people like Elon or others, the market will still rally in spite of that negative news. However, when you switch that posture to a bearish trend where people get reminded of what it feels like to lose money, like they did when Vitalik dumped on them, and all the other price action came down this week. When you have negative news on top of that, it just compounds and creates these cascading waterfalls of price action. And I think that's what we're seeing. As for your second question and where we are in the market cycle, I think we've entered a new stage of the market in the sense that we are going into an accumulation phase and a sideways to downward consolidation. I think that we will bottom out here eventually. I just don't know where that bottom is going to be. And it could be very, very low because a lot of the market participants who have come on for the first time are very fickle in the sense that they do have weak hands. I mean, we saw it this entire weekend. So I do think there's going to be some good buying opportunities, but for the minute I'm sitting tight because I want to see some type of bottom first.
Before we move on,
And go ahead.
sorry, I want to just expand on that point CJ made, because I completely agree with him in the sense that we will never get to a point where the markets aren't influenced by a single person or investor. Look at the impact that Citron Research had on individual stocks on Wall Street over the past 20 years, to the point that it was actually pushed out of short selling by Wall Street bets, right? They put out a report saying this stock is going down, they're short selling it. They can drive down the price of a stock. You have individual research analysts at Morgan Stanley, at JP Morgan, at all these investment banks. They put out a negative report on a stock, they drive down the price of the stock. So it doesn't matter what you trade, individuals will always be able to impact the price of it. So it's not about moving away from that. It's about, okay, do people take Elon Musk seriously? And there's always going to be that segment of Bitcoin maxis or Dogecoin holders or of the crypto market in general that will always listen to Elon Musk because he's an OG. So because he's been here longer than a lot of the other people who are going to crop up over the next few years, people will always listen to him because he's a name they know and for some reason trust. And we'll never get to a point where we're past that. Not at all. I don't think that happens.
And listen to that, one of the things that the next step I want to take in this in these responses is with what's happened over the last week. Is this something that's going to create a hyper focus amongst regulators as far as market manipulation is concerned? I mean, here it is, folks. So Trade the Chain dashboard is sentiment driven. So what you're looking at right now is how this market is for, you can clearly see in the short term, based on what's happened for the week, pure sentiment. It's to Elon has proven is now a trade signal. But, you know, with, if even over here, I mean, look at this.
That Bitcoin score, 14. I've never seen a score that bearish.
This is price versus sentiment right here on the 1 day.
Show the 7-day, and you can always show the.
Look at that.
There's always that perfect relationship between sentiment and price. That's incredible.
I mean, this is utterly, I say fantastic, and not in the sense of good. But with that, Ryan, again, let's go over to you. Is this going to create a hyper focus amongst regulators when we were already playing a gray area game with them to begin with?
Regulators are already hyper focused. I talk to quite a few on a semi-regular basis. I work with projects that interact and interface with regulators all the time. And regulators have been hyper-focused on this. I just filed a tax extension, and one of the questions on the tax extension was, did you invest in virtual currencies over the past year? Regulators are looking at this from an institutional standpoint, from a retail standpoint, from a taxation standpoint. And there is a lot going on, especially with a handful of projects that I can't talk about what they do with regulators due to non-disclosure agreements or what have you. But there's a lot going on that we're going to start to see the fruits of later this year. And you're going to see how much the regulators have been focused on this space. It won't necessarily be enforcement actions, but there will be rules announced probably within 6 to 10 months. There's going to be a lot more clarity than people are expecting.
Yeah, CJ, Monty?
I was just going to say, I hope we do get some clarity, right? Because it seems wrong to me that Elon's able to, tweet. And like you said, Alex, he basically implied that he's selling all of Tesla's Bitcoin. He's talking about what he's doing with his company's capital, and he's talking about what they're going to do in the future and, moving the price of the market. To me, that seems like in any other market, it'd be something that there would be heavy sanctions laid down against him for doing that. So I don't know. I think that, the timing of this is all very interesting, what with tax season coming up and these deadlines and just the crypto kind of hitting the mainstream in the last couple of months with the Coinbase listing. I think now's the time for regulators to make a move. If they're going to lay down some law, I think now would be the time to do it.
What about when he took his company public or private at 420? I mean, he's doing the same thing he already got got wrapped on the knuckles for. It's like, how many times can you do this before you're not allowed to run publicly traded companies? It goes back to what I was saying at the top of the show. You can't keep manipulating markets and get away with it. Eventually, it's going to catch up to you. So he doesn't have any fundamentals behind it like Citron did, right? Citron would do their research. They'd present a case and say, this is why we're short selling this. This company is overvalued. He just goes on doing these things like it's a joke to him. It's a joke. And it costs a lot of people a lot of money. And I don't hold Bitcoin. So I mean, I care, but at the end of the day, it didn't cost me as much money as it would have cost other people. But I mean, there are a lot of people who lost a lot of money because of this. There has to be some accountability there.
Ryan, it's systemic across the broader market. So you feel the pain just as well as anybody else?
Sure. But not all altcoins are down as much as Bitcoin is, right? So depending on which ones I was lucky enough to hold because I somehow bought them versus other ones that got driven down more. I mean, I didn't lose as much as Bitcoin maxis, right? So I feel like you can't do this in equities. You can't do this in commodities. You can't do this in other regulated asset classes. And this is only going to heighten their motivation, regulators, which are already motivated to kind of stamp this out. And I'd be surprised if Elon didn't get a call from the SEC again over this.
Well, here comes an important note now when it comes to the markets. Has his actions caused damage to the institutional investors' mindset of participating directly in the markets like they have been, let's call it, publicly for the last 6 to 8 months, where people have been more conscious of when institutional investments are coming into the marketplace. Has this damaged their perception of the markets or their feeling of the markets? And will it change their style drift of investing to maybe indirect investments like esoteric VC investments into infrastructure or some other, portfolio holding similar to that?
So the cynic in me, right, I want to believe that, he's acting on his own and this is just him being a clown. But the cynic in me thinks maybe that there's kind of a wink and a nod here to a number of his pals and a number of institutions where, okay, yeah, we know you're investing in Bitcoin. We know that there's a way to get it at a discount, even though long-term the prognosis is bullish. And I probably sound like I have a tinfoil hat on right now, but I mean, I just, sometimes you wonder, you see things that are just too opportunistic and just, they seem like they're off the cuff, but this doesn't feel like it is. And I don't know. I think maybe more than a few people are in on this ruse.
CJ, tell me what your thoughts are on Ryan's conspiracy theories here. Or literally, is it as simple as Elon Musk is just being an idiot?
I think it is the latter. Because, like, when you tweet something out, what time did he tweet it? Like 12 p.m., like midnight, or that's not something that seems planned. It kind of seems like what Trump used to do when he would tweet.
Many drinks at the bar on your way home.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like an orchestrated thing. I mean, I guess definitely from a cynical perspective, I can see where Ryan's coming from. But overall, I think Elon has changed the narrative around Bitcoin because due to his misinformation around the energy consumption, people are going to think that Bitcoin's bad for the environment now. He started that conversation, even though it's not true. He has put it forth. Climate advocates are going to take that story and run with it, even though it's misinformation. And I think a lot of corporations are going to be kind of adverse to invest in Bitcoin as a result because they don't want to be lumped into that category. I mean, if Bitcoin was already a risk to invest in, and then they have to take a reputational hit by not being friendly to, the environment, they're not going to do it. I mean, even Square, like, why would Square come out and say we're not going to buy any more Bitcoin? I don't understand it. It just seems.
Do you think Jack Dorsey and Elon Musk were out together that night drinking?
I don't think they're very good friends.
No, but listen, all of us here have dealt with institutional or agency trading desks, participating in crypto or crypto hedge funds. One of the things that I'm worried. I'm worried about institutional mindset. I'm worried about, trading desk mindset. There's no circuit breakers in crypto because it is, decentralized by nature. So it doesn't offer the same protection as NYSE or NASDAQ does when there's a large drop or increase in price to protect everyone. So inherently, you have an overexposure to digital assets from the beginning. Is anybody really concerned that might be the next leg down that impacts the market directly as a catalyst and fallout from this?
A great question, but there's one thing I want to ask CJ. Midnight, he tweets that out, right? Who influences the markets the most? Is it the East or the West? Right? And who's up, active, and trading and driving volumes at that time of day?
Monty. Oh, that wasn't the right answer.
Just saying. I mean, it just all seems.
Well, it's the Asian markets, and as we always say with the Sunday sell-offs, that's what we always blame it on the Asian markets.
I'm just saying.
Fair enough. All right. So, institutional investor and trading desk impact. Does this make them nervous and slow that participation down in the game? And will that cause a systemic second leg down?
I don't think it causes a second leg down, but I do definitely think it hampers, their willingness to participate. I think we were kind of getting that snowball effect to start the year. Lots of institutions hopping on board, talks of family offices getting into the crypto space. I think now that's going to slow down a little bit, which is okay. I don't think we're going to necessarily see a strong leg down, but I think, maybe we won't see too much adoption from that sector until that next leg up. I think that chart that CJ showed from Crypto Cobain with, a possible brief period of consolidation, I think that may be a period of time when we don't have any new players entering into the institutional space. But once we enter that uptrend, I think it's inevitable that people start hopping back on board.
And I think in terms of hedge funds, they're going to see this, or, they're going to see 40K or possibly even 35K as a great long-term buying opportunity to really get in, because there are still funds that have not been able to get in, or who are still in the process of getting their assets acquired and trading Bitcoin and altcoins extensively. So, however, for the companies who have to risk their reputation and say, oh, we bought Bitcoin, this really energy intensive thing, but hear us out, it's not the worst thing in the world. It just consumes more electricity than many countries. Any way that you spin that, the climate skeptic is going to be like, why are you wasting so much energy? But it's like, as a society, this is not a waste of energy. This is a really valuable thing to a global society that we need. But that disconnect between retail investors, or just the noob into crypto, for lack of a better word, that scares them, and that makes them hesitant, at least until the price starts going back up.
Yeah. All right. And this is where I put in a shameless plug for Trade the Chain. When we launched it back in October of last year, our sentiment trading dashboards, who knew how relevant it would be now? So, know before you go, guys. Sign up. Links in description.
Alex, you've been relatively silent asking the hard questions through all of this. I'm interested to hear your take and opinions on some of these matters.
No, I'm like Geraldo, man. I ask the questions. You don't get to ask the questions of me. No, I just to sum it up briefly, I think yes, these Elon and others who not inappropriately but irresponsibly public face with these type of comments that do affect people's everyday lives will have reputational risk. I do believe that institutional investors and trading desks will get a little more nervous about where their allocations sit in digital assets, because they tend not to trade off sentiment, but off of market cycles and other indicators. And I think, CJ, lastly, you're right. Any corporation there's no upside to coming out and saying you're buying a large sum of Bitcoin and putting it on your balance sheet right now. There really is no upside. So why would anybody do it?
There hasn't been an upside to that for a while because Michael Saylor normalized it. Because all he did every week is, I'm going to issue more debt and buy more Bitcoin. And then the market stopped reacting to it. So what's the next logical step? We're not buying Bitcoin.
Exactly. Right? But the problem is, Ryan, the problem is now the companies are coming out, and instead of being quiet about it, where you used to hear just announcements where they would buy Bitcoin, they're coming out and saying, we're not buying Bitcoin. That makes it even worse.
Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And it was only a matter of time until this started happening. It's infuriating and just bizarre, but it was only a matter of time.
Never thought my little saying at the end of the shows, hang on to your handlebars, would be so appropriate. Yeah, I mean, folks, this has been tough for you. We get it. It's tough for us up here. We all play in the same game and markets that you guys do. So, let us know in the comments or in the live chat. What are your feelings about this? Is Elon Musk good for the market or bad for the market? And we share, as Ryan likes to say in our community, we share our wins together, but we also share our losses together. So we're not always going to be chipper. We're just going to talk and say it as is. So any parting thoughts of wisdom from you three exceptional co-hosts? That's it. I think they imparted everything.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, please don't hit the dislike button just because the markets aren't suiting your needs. You can still hit the like. Definitely. And don't forget, check out marketrebellion.com/crypto. And also, if you haven't yet, catch CJ and Monty along with our friend John Nigerian in their morning crypto bite video, which is over at the marketrebellion.com YouTube channel. With that being said, we will see you folks tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.